Fantastic. So, Grange Primary School. So tell me more about that.
Okay, so
how did you get there?
I went into this school, Grange, which was identified to me, and fell in love. It had had nearly a decade of decline, a series of school principals, none of whom had hung around very long, a fragmented community, lots of members of staff on long-term sickness. So all these alarm bells, behavioural problems from the students. But I fell in love. I just can't tell you why. There was something deep in me, instinctual, that when this place
is calling
me. So I went away, went back to the director of education at the local government level. And I said, because I found out that there was no school principal, permanent school principal. I said, when the job comes up, I need to apply for that. And I thought that he'd talk me out of it. And he went, no, go for it. And I was 31, I think, so very young. Anyway, I applied for the job and got it. And I thought I was a superstar because at 31, I'd become the school principal of this large urban elementary school. What I found out after I signed my contract was the reason I got the job is because I had been the only applicant. Every time somebody had come in and said, here's the system, here's the way you do it, this is what I want you to do, there was a layer of concrete poured on those people emotionally. So their emotional connection to their professional behavior had been drowned, submerged under layers and layers and layers and layers of concrete. So my first job in a very technical way was to drill through the layers of concrete. I had to find the passion. I had to find the heartbeat. I had to reconnect the community with what they wanted for their kids in their community as professionals, what they personally felt should happen. Let me give you one example. I had one male member of staff, and every organization, by the way, every team has these people.
Absolutely.
I call them alphas, right? It can be a male or a female, but on every team, there is always one person that has no hierarchical power, but thinks they're in control.
Yes.
They think they're in charge, right? They govern the mood of the team. And I had one, his name was John, who was definitely an alpha. I remember the first time I met him, so I was new in the job and I was in listening mode, right? I really wanted to understand the culture. I remember walking into the staff room one day to go and make myself a cup of coffee, and John was in there as alphas do with his little minions, like his group of people that he gathered to give him power and strength. And he saw me walk in. So what he did next was very deliberate, right? Top of his voice. He went, of course, I never wanted to be a teacher in the first place, right? Gives the performative. He said, I blame my father. He said, my father ran the local convenience store. He said, and I had such hopes and dreams and ideas for that business. He said, I blame my father. He was such a lousy business person that the business went bust before I was old enough to take on a senior role in the business. He said, so I had no other choice. I trained to be a teacher, right? Anyway, it was performative. I ignored him. I pretended I wasn't listening, made my coffee, left the room. A couple of days later, I asked him to come to my office, and he came in, and of course, it's like adults are no different to children. He's summoned to the school principal's office. His first thing was, what have I done now? That was his first response. I said, you haven't done anything. I said, what I want to, I said, do you remember the other day I came into the staff room and I couldn't help but overhear you talking about your father. Yeah, my father never wanted to be. I said, well, funnily enough, one of the things I'm thinking of us doing in this school, now remember this is elementary, so in the UK that's 3 to 11-year-olds. So one of the things I'm thinking of doing here, because I really want our kids to understand the power and importance of math and its connection to business. I said, I'd like to set up a retail business here, which the children run themselves and manage. I said, but I couldn't help overhearing, it was luck, I said, that you clearly have a passion for retail. And he said, oh yeah, I said, well, I found a course at the local superstore, and they run retail management courses at their store. And I've managed to get you a place on the course, and it's a week long. If I fund that, will you go on the course? And then will you come back and set up the retail business with the children? And his eyes were like, it was interesting you talked about trust, right? He was like, what what's his game? I said, no, really, that's all I want. I said, when you come back, feedback to me, tell me what you've learned. Tell me, because the whole week I want you to be thinking about how our business, how we might set that up. Come back, put the proposal to me, and I will give you a budget to do that. So he went a skeptic, thoroughly enjoyed his week, came back, and I gave him the reins and said, I'm not going to oversee you. I'm not going to tell you what it looks like. You've told me, go make it happen. Now that experience, which then took him maybe 6 months to generate and build, became a profoundly important part of the school. And my great pride is that John went from being the alpha disruptor in the staff room. By the time I left, he was an assistant school principal.
Wow.